Assalamu alaikum, I'm Muhammad Rizwan. Today I'm going to make a real-time chat application. For that we must have a Laravel fresh project. To open that project, click on your CMD terminal and type here cd /zam /htdocs and / your project name. I name to my project chat app and type here php artisan serve to run the server. Open your Google Chrome and open here localhost 8000. Here you can see my fresh Laravel project with authentication of scaffolding. Here you can see my fresh Laravel project is successfully installed. If you didn't install, then watch my previous video how to install a fresh Laravel project. For this video, basically you must have a sound knowledge of Laravel to develop the chat application. I would change my home plate.php page to message, and I would give here styling. To attach a styling, I would add style background dash color, and I would give it to orange color. Refresh my page. Yeah, it's good. And the text color should be white. Refresh my page. Yes, it's white now. Here I would bold the text. So I'd apply the bold tag. Put messenger into the bold tag. And the text align property into center. Refresh my page. Here you can see our front end is quite good now. Now I would place the text messages down to this border. To make the text and to make this, I would open here. I would build a div, and there must be a parent div and two child div. The first div would contain the user image, and second div would contain the text message. So to make two divs, I would create a first div and two divs between the parent div. So here is a first div, and that's a second div. First div would contain image of the user, which is sending message, and I'm assigning IDs to message text and user image. It would be very informative for us when we would play with Jquery type stuff to send this message into database. Then these IDs would be very fine for us. I'm giving here the class 12 and here the class of 4, and the bottom div I would give here the class of 8. So the bootstrap who have knowledge of bootstrap know this well what I did here. So I would give here the image. If the image is not being displayed, then place here the sorry, and here we would write our text message. Here you can see to somehow our front end is good, but it's not quite well. I would now download a user image to display on my front end. Open Google Chrome and type here user image. Download user image from here and download this image and place into public folder of your project. You know this well. When you have to attach the Laravel image, then you have to place in your public folder. Then you can easily integrate your image with your project front page. I would give here the name user image. So this image has an extension of PNG. So I would give here the name curly braces assert. This is the format to display an image on the page from your public folder. The name of the image is userimage.png. Here you can see the image is on my front page. Now I would change its width and height. I'm assigning it to 50 pixel, and to make it round I would give here the styling of border radius to 50 pixel, border radius 50 pixel. Refresh my page. Yeah, here you can see it's quite good. Now I want to make the second div just a bit stylish. To make this, I would style to it background color light blue. Yeah, it's good. But now I want these two div in parallel. For this I need to integrate the bootstrap link. Open your bootstrap website and copy these two CSS and Jquery links. JavaScript links. And paste. Copy the CSS link and paste here, and copy the JavaScript link and paste here. So both CDN has been placed in the header of the page, and I'm going to refresh it. Here you can see Bootstrap has been successfully integrated. So I want to make these two divs in parallel. Image should be first, and then should be text in front of the image. So to check the Bootstrap is successfully been integrated or not, I change the property. Here you can see the length has been changed, which means Bootstrap is working fine. Now to make it parallel, I would take the help of CSS, style display flex. From here you can see both the child divs are now in parallel, but having a quite space between them. To eliminate the space, I would change the rest of the div size from 8 to 11. Now it would occupy the whole space. Yeah, it's quite good. And I would give here the margin between the user image and the text. Style margin right. 10 pixel is enough. Refresh my page. Yeah, it's quite good. To make this message div more good, I would give here border radius of 20 pixel. Here you can see it's looking like a message. And the next thing which I'm going to do, I'm giving padding top of 50 pixel and refresh it. Oh no, I would change it to 10 pixel. This would be enough. Yeah, it's quite good. Now our messaging front end is almost ready. I would copy this whole div and paste down to it to see how the message would look like. Yeah, it's good, but there's no space between upper div and lower div, so I would create a margin bottom of 10 pixel, and then I will copy again. Yeah, it's good. Then I will copy again and paste down to it. I refresh my page. Yeah, it's quite good. When the messages I would receive in real time, then it would be good to see in perfect alignment. I would change the next image of the next message which I'm sending and receiving. There must be a difference. To do that, I'm using the second image for the receiving message and first image for the sending message. There must have two different profile images to see either message has been sent or received. I would change here the name user image 2 and save in my public folder, and change here the name user image 2.jpg because it's a picture which I downloaded is in JPG extension. And refresh my page. Here you can see it's good, but I want to change this image. I would replace this image to the previous one and I will save it exactly to the same position with the same name which I did before. User image 2. Yeah, I want to replace, yes, and refresh my page. Yeah, now the first message would indicate the message which is sent by me, and second message, the second display picture would indicate the message which I received from the other user, right? Now I would create here another div for sending message. I would create here the text area and the send button. For this again I have to make a one parent div and two child divs, which one contain the text area and the second one would contain the button which will hit to send a message from the front page to the next user and into the database as well. I created here the input tag to make an input box. Here you can see type here input box has been created and bootstrap property form control has been successfully working. I would copy it and paste down to it to make a button, and now I would change its width to 2 and replace the input with the button, and I would name it to send and assigning a class to btn success. Yeah, it's good, but I want to make it in blue color, so I would give it property to, I would give the name to success to primary. Again I would give here display flex to make them in parallel. Yeah, it's quite good, but having a bit distance between the text box and the send button, but I want to make it closer to the text I want to make it closer to the text box. So to do that I would give here a margin. Margin added, but useless. I would give here a margin left in minus value because button is on right side, so the margin should be on left side. Yeah, it's good. I would change its width to 1. It's quite good. I would change 10 to 20. Yeah, it's wonderful, perfect. I want to create a distinction between the messaging place and sending place. To create a distinction, I would draw the line between the messaging area or sending area. So yes, here you can see a borderline between the receiving area and sending area. So here our front end has been completed. Now I added a div around the text messages. This is very important div because when we use Jquery to append the message, then it would be very useful for us. I gave it to ID place message. So I will change the color of its background from blue to light green, which would create a difference that either message has been received or message has been sent. So now our front end has been completed. It's good. Now to send a message into database, we have to use a Jquery Ajax function. For this, I'm integrating the Jquery CDN. You can go and type Jquery CDN in W3 School and copy this link and paste this link in your page. Yeah, I paste it here. Now I would make a function, send message, type here function and then message function name and type here var message text. Now I would access to the message box through its ID. Let me check the ID which I assigned to text box. I gave the ID type message. I would copy this and paste it here. Whatever we type in our text box, I would get it through this and want to alert it to see either our Jquery is working fine, and I would create here an event on click and send function is invoked by this event, and let's see. Hello. Yeah, it's working fine and giving me alert, which means our Jquery is working perfectly fine. Okay, let's move forward. Now I want to send this data to database through Ajax. As I already have a code of Ajax, you can pause the video and you can type if you don't have a code, but if you want this source code, then comment under this video and I would share this code to you. But if you want to type, then you can pause video. So here I would change this code to my requirement. URL I'm sending here send message, and data here I'm giving the message variable and the message text, whatever I'm getting through the text box, assigning to message, and here is a token, and the person who uses Laravel know very well to store the data in the database you must have authentication, so that's why we use token. And here I'm assigning ID send button. So before send is a function which is called before posting the data into server, and I'm changing from send to wait, and I'll delete all the extra code from here. And then I want to alert either the data has been successfully stored in database or not, and in case of exception I want to again, in case of exception I want to display here the send message button text again back to send, and I have deleted the previous data. So it's a Ajax code. It's very simple. Most of the people know it well. And here is a URL send message, but we don't have the URL here send message. Open your web.php route file. And as I have not any controller, so before proceeding I have to create a message controller here. cd XAMPP htdocs chat app, and type here php artisan make controller, and I am creating message controller here. Here you can see the message controller has been created, and I'll create a public function send message, and I'll type here the code which is used to send the data into database. And after that we'll see how to broadcast the data. To save a data into database we must have to create a model. Send message model I want to create here. Model is just like a table in the database. In the Laravel we create data and we create tables, we create different attributes. So go in your migration file and type here the attribute which you need. I need the message attribute where I would store my messages, and second I need the user ID to whom the message has been sent. I would store into user ID. Here is I have already a source code. I would copy it, but you have to pause the video and type this code. I would copy from this and paste it here to save the time. So I would change this to user ID because I need a user ID as a foreign key in send message, and here I want to create a link between send message table and user table. So it's perfectly fine. Now I would migrate this table to database. Give a command here php artisan migrate. So table has been migrated. To check either the data has been sent in database or not, go to your database, and here you can see the send message table has been created. To see their attributes, I have created only two attributes, message and user ID. So created at and updated at are added by default because of timestamp. So now I would give here a path use app backslash to the table name. So here is table name send message. Now I would code here to save the data into database. Object, an attribute is message. This is the attribute which we declared in our table, and here is the post request which is used to send the data by the Ajax into database. We'll get this data through this post, and I'll again go in and search my Ajax function to see which variable I named it. So here you can see I use the message variable to send the data into database. I would use here the message by copying it. Yeah, it's good. Whatever the data, whatever the message will send will be passed through this message variable, and now this would be saved in my database. To add a user ID who is sending the message, I'll use auth. This auth function would be used. The person who is logged in, automatically the ID of that person would be get and would be used here. I will use a user table as well. So from here you can get the ID of the logged in user who is sending the message. I'm saving it and returning response. Like this you can return a response by adding a variable. If you have multi-variable, then you can pass the data from this server end to your client end. So to access the variable, to access the URL, you have to place this into your home.blade.php. So from here you can get a token, and here you have to assign your URL. So here you have to give your route name. I would give here the name send.message and go into web.php and declare here a route of type post. I would call to message controller and send function to send the data, and I would name it to send.message, and the same name I would use to send the data by the Ajax. Okay, I refresh it and type here message hello, click on send button, no response. Let's debug it to see if any error found. Yeah, here is an internal server error, which means there is a problem. Yeah, here type auth first, then user, then colon, save it and refresh your browser, and again I'll try to send message. No, again internal server error, data is not going in database. I'm refreshing it one more time, try to send, again failed. It means there is a problem in data. Yeah, here is a problem. Let's change to send message, because the controller having a function send message, and try to send it again. No, it's not being sent. It means at server side there is a problem in a controller function. Here is everything okay. Yeah, here is a problem in the return response side. I'll change it from JSON to just simple return response. I'm changing it to return response and passing here a message function. Passing here a message parameter and sending it to back. So I'll try to again send a message. Yeah, it's perfectly going in database. Let's check my database. Yeah, data has been passed to database perfectly fine. Let's again send a message. Okay, fine, perfect. Let's refresh database. Here you can see the message has been sent by ID 1. So I'll change to HTML, because if you want to change the text of the button, then you have to type here HTML. Now I try to send again a message, and sending. Okay, it's good. Refreshing it. Here you can see the data is going in database perfectly fine. Now you can see on the front end only 2 messages are being displayed, because these are static and we want to get these messages from database. To get the messages from database, we have to change the code and we have to loop through the code, and we have to get data from database first. Then we'll pass this data from server to my page. Before that, we are going to add here another user to whom we will send a message, and I am registering one other person, Ali, and giving here password 128 and doing register. Okay, again on a dashboard, but another user, Ali. Now I would go in my home.plate.php, and now I would create another friend list. Here I will create a div of size 4. And giving a styling to light pink. Okay, then I'll create here the select, because I have to select from list of friends to one to whom we will send message. In select tag, I would create option, and then I would type here select friend, and then option, and I loop through this one. First let me check. Yeah, it's good and quite good. I'm giving a class farm control. Okay, perfectly applied. Now I would disable the select friend, and on number second I would loop this through and would get this data from database in a keyword all users. And displaying here username and assigning here the value, the ID of the user. And then I'll go in home page, because when I logged in, then at the same time I would get data from the user table and get the list of the users, and would pop up I would get the list of the user from database and then pass to home page. All users equal to user table and all the list of all friends, and then I will pass this list of users to the home page. And I have created the loop home page to display all users. Let's refresh it. Oh, there's an error. Like, I have to give here all users, because you can see all users is a keyword, but in my controller I added all users, so I would place here user and refresh it. Here you can see the list of users in database. I can see here, and now Ali is logged in. Admin is another user, so if you have to send a message, then select user from here and then type message and then click on send button. To do so, I have to change a code in the database and code in the controller. Let's open a controller and send message function. Here you can see before we just was getting user ID who was logged in, but here I would change a bit, sending user ID. No, it would be a receiving, so I would change it to receiving ID, because this would be the person whom message would be sent. And in my JavaScript Ajax code, I would type here receiving ID, and in the same way, I would get here the receiver ID, and let's see it. Select the user and type message. Here you can see I'm successfully getting ID of the selected user, like this way. Yeah, it's quite good. And then I pass this ID through my Ajax function to my controller. I'll type here receiver ID and this receiver ID. I'll copy it and paste here. Then again, in response, I would send back a message. Save it and then refresh the browser and refresh my database, and just deleting all the records which I previously had, and I'll refresh it. Oh no, first I have to select the user whom I'm sending a message. Really, I'm sending to myself. So let's see. Yes, message has been sent, and see there is only one message, and I'll refresh it. You know, these are two messages. It means one message which is sent, another which I received, because I sent this message to myself. So here you can see I'm sending this message to admin. So refresh here, you can see now ID has been changed. So I would type here, type send message, and then along with all messages, I would get only those messages which I have. Now I'm getting only those messages which is sent to me. So yeah, it's perfectly fine. Now I get the messages and I'll pass to my home page, and then I'll loop through, and then you would be able to see on the front end only those messages which was sent to me. I'll delete this one, but before that let me loop through the first div. I only needed first div and I will delete the second div because that's not relative to me. And now I would display here the message which is for me in my database. Now I'll remove this because now I'm dynamically getting the data from the database. Here you can see only there was one message which was sent to me. So ID number 2 Ali has only one message, so that's why on the screen I got only one message.